Manchester United can sell 15 players. Casemiro is finished, and replacing David de Gea with Andre Onana was a calamitous mistake. I wouldn't be disappointed if Manchester United sold 15 players this summer. We need to make massive changes, a big overhaul. The player profiles are not right. If you give Pep Guardiola this team, they are not going to pass it around like Man City. If you give Jurgen Klopp this team, they are not going to press high, dominate possession, and create lots of chances. If you sack Ten Hag and bring in Thomas Tuchel or Roberto De Zerbi, they have a certain style of football that won't suit these players either. It always comes back to the players. We've got to change them. There's a core group of players we should definitely keep. You've got Lisandro Martinez, who has been injured all season, Luke Shaw, Diogo Dalot has had a good season. Bruno Fernandes is another. He's not had a great season, but when he's not in the team they are even worse. There are others I'd give a chance to, like Mason Mount and Andre Onana. I think they should be given another shot. Younger players like Alejandro Garnacho, Rasmus Højlund and Kobbie Mainoo should be in an environment that protects and nurtures them, but they're being hung out to dry. They're being expected to go away to Crystal Palace and be the focal point for that team. You look back at the class of '92 and those young players were playing with the likes of Eric Cantona, Roy Keane, Peter Schmeichel, but now there's no protection, there is no seniority at Manchester United at the moment. Those three players are 100% players I'd be keeping and developing for the future. But it's not a big list, the players I'd keep. We need a clear out. There's far too much expectation placed on our young players and not enough protection and leadership from senior figures in the dressing room. Onana has been suspect all season, but it's only his first year in the Premier League. Calamitous de Gea Onana mistake. Look, it's still season 1 for Onana. If you look back to what he was like for Ajax and Inter Milan, his distribution is very good and he was one of the better goalkeepers in Europe. Man United haven't been able to play that way this year due to the injuries at centre-back. We're not playing with a sweeper keeper, so he's not really been able to display his best skill set. But as a basic goalkeeper, I've said it all season, I don't have a lot of faith. Positioning, ability to get down, covering his front post, these are basic goalkeeping skills that David de Gea was way better at. I do think it was a mistake to get rid of de Gea. I think we did it a year too early. You've just got to hope that Onana in year 2 will improve in his basic goalkeeper skills and we become a team that actually plays out from the back, because then you will see improvement in him. But there are issues there. Casemiro is great, but he needs to go. It's a strange one. Casemiro's been one of the best players in his position for the last decade and he was very good for Manchester United last season, but over the last few weeks there's almost been a nonchalance to his play. The way he took the penalty against Coventry in the FA Cup semi-final and just kicked it down the middle, trying to run the ball out against Crystal Palace, diving into tackles as the last man, the header against Burnley when he tried to head it back into a packed penalty box. We lost that game, and we would have won it had he not done that, so he is factually costing us goals and points, and he's on £300,000 a week. It's not good enough. I really like Casemiro, but I wouldn't expect this from him. He was the captain on Monday night, in the 4-0 defeat to Palace, and his standard is on the floor. People are right to call it out. Casemiro's status as one of the greats is secure, he's won 5 Champions Leagues, but he's damaged United this season and has to go. He's still a great of the game, in my opinion. This doesn't change what he did for Real Madrid, and he played well for Brazil at the World Cup too. But he's playing in the Premier League and it's a lot quicker than other leagues, the Champions League and international football. I'm not saying it's better or not, but it is a lot quicker, and for players like Casemiro it's too quick for him, although he is playing out of position. I don't think it damages his reputation, but he's certainly damaging Man United at the moment. He will be a high priority player to move on because of how he's playing and his wage. Embarrassing season, but it's not over. I'm not surprised Chelsea are above Manchester United now. They've had a terrible season, but I think United, Chelsea and even Newcastle in many ways are very similar. They're not in a position they can shout about. It's pretty embarrassing. All 3 clubs have had major injury problems, and I think Tottenham and Aston Villa have been fortunate. All those 3 clubs have underperformed. It's a season to forget for United and Ten Hag, but I still think sticking with the manager is the best option. But what's happening now is Chelsea and Newcastle have managed to put teams out that can get results. Predominantly they've got a back four and a midfield. Manchester United don't have that. We've had an injured Johnny Evans, Casemiro, Aaron Wan-Bissaka at left back. Christian Eriksen doesn't look anywhere near the level anymore. There's not a lot between the teams, but Chelsea and Newcastle have found a way of putting a team together that actually has a structure to it. That's been the difference in the last few weeks. I think all three of them have had really forgettable seasons, but if you can get that last Europa League spot, at least you can salvage something. It won't be Man United in the league, though. We're not going to finish above Chelsea or Newcastle. So it's all going to come down to the FA Cup final, against Man City. Fabrizio Romano says Casemiro expected to leave Man United. Manchester United expect to part ways with the Brazilian in the summer after poor recent performances. Fabrizio Romano says Casemiro is now expected to leave Manchester United this summer. The Brazilian has come under scrutiny in recent months and is a target for Saudi Arabian clubs. Casemiro could one of a number of United players who leave the club. Manchester United midfielder Casemiro could leave the club at the end of the season as the team anticipates interest from Saudi Arabian clubs in the summer, journalist Fabrizio Romano reports. The 32-year-old had enjoyed a successful debut season at Old Trafford, but it has been a different story this term, and after his recent performances, both the team and the player now reportedly expect to part ways in the summer. The holding midfielder's form has shown signs of decline in recent months, and the latest performance against Crystal Palace has left fans doubting the Brazilian's future in Manchester. Erik ten Hag's side lost the match 4-0, and Casemiro, who was deployed at centre-back, endured a nightmare showing against the opposition and was told by pundits to call it a day. Casemiro expected to leave Man United this summer. In his daily briefing, Romano reported that the Brazilian midfielder is likely to pack his bags this summer and could receive offers from the Middle East. It's obviously not been the best moment for Casemiro at Manchester United, with the veteran Brazilian really struggling in the 4-0 defeat against Crystal Palace, and it's now anticipated that there will be a chance for him to leave the club this summer. We already heard some stories back in November, but there were never any concrete proposals at the time. This could change in the summer as Manchester United are anticipating some interest, particularly from Saudi clubs, for Casemiro. The expectation now is for the club and the player to part ways. Over the past year, Saudi Arabia has become a popular destination for many veteran footballers who are just past their peak, with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, and Neymar all going east in the last 12 months. Casemiro, who earns £350,000 a week at United, might not want to reduce his wages, and clubs in the Middle East would be able to accommodate his wishes. Casemiro, who the Manchester Evening News reported teammate Kobbie Mainoo loves playing with, joined Manchester United from Real Madrid in 2022 for an initial £60 million fee plus £10 million in add-ons. After a successful last year, the midfielder's form slumped in recent games. In the loss against Crystal Palace, the Brazilian was dribbled past 8 times, a record for one player in the Premier League this season. Most of Man United's players are for sale. Casemiro is not the only Manchester United player who could leave the club this summer. The Telegraph reported that most players are for sale in the upcoming transfer window, including Marcus Rashford and team captain Bruno Fernandes. New Manchester United owner Sir Jim Ratcliffe reportedly wants a dramatic overhaul, and only 3 players are considered to be safe: Rasmus Højlund, Alejandro Garnacho, and Mainoo. Manchester United have not enjoyed a successful year as they set a club record for the most defeats in a single Premier League season with 13 losses so far. The club slumped to 8th in the table after finishing 3rd in the Premier League last year, with manager Ten Hag's future also in doubt after recent performances.